All right, so let's get the second show on the road. So right now we're going to be reviewing some of the drugs that are in the adrenergic category. So I'm not going to go over all of the effects of the receptors since I did that in the last video. So if you need a little bit of a review, feel free to go back to the last video. No shame in that. I do it all the time. Okay, so first we're going to talk about epinephrine. So epinephrine works on the beta-1 and beta-2 receptors. And at really high doses, it can work on the alpha-1 receptors. So the uses of epinephrine, you've probably heard of epinephrine as in like the EpiPen. So it treats anaphylactic shock. It's very helpful in cardiac arrest. And in combination with lidocaine, it's used to decrease the systemic absorption. So epinephrine has vasoconstricting effects, meaning it will constrict the blood vessels so that the lidocaine doesn't get through completely. Well, just so that there's no systemic absorption, if you know what I mean. And then next we're going to talk about another medication that you probably have heard of. So the next one's called Sudafed Red, which is also like Sudafed, whatever. I promise we're going to talk about this, right? Yes. Okay, so it works on the alpha-1 receptor. Since it's interesting, I'll go over it really fast. But the alpha-1 receptor, remember, is used to decrease nasal congestion and has those sort of effects. So that is what Sudafed Red does. You usually take it when you have allergies, or you take it when you have, I would say allergies is the most common why people take Sudafed. The next thing we're going to talk about is isoproterenol. Believe me, I don't know how to say it either. I mean, like, it's a hard word to say, all of these words. So basically, it acts on beta-1 and beta-2 receptors, and you'll remember if you go back to last video about what they do. And it stimulates the heart, it dilates the blood vessels, and it relaxes the bronchial smooth muscle. So as we know, all of these drugs in this category are adding on to the sympathetic response. So isoproterenol would not be an exception. It is also adding on to the sympathetic response. Okay, so I have a little quiz question for you. So phenylephrine is a nasal spray and tablet, right? And it increases blood pressure by increasing peripheral vascular resistance, okay? So I want to ask you, what receptor do you think is the agonist for this medication? 10 points for the winner. All right. So the agonist for this medication is the alpha-1 receptor. As we remember, it decreases nasal congestion, increases blood pressure, and also has some effects on the GI, GU sphincters, increases glucose, etc. So the phenylephrine would be working with the alpha-1 agonists. And a side effect of this medication is it can give you reflex bradycardia. And bradycardia is when your heart is beating too slow. So basically it's your heart, it's your auto mechanism of if your heart rate gets too fast and your cardiac output gets too fast, your heart wants to beat slower. So that's why it's called a reflex bradycardia, because as we know, bradycardia is not a symptom it's not a effect of the sympathetic nervous system. It's an effect of the parasympathetic nervous system. So when we take this medication, we wouldn't be trying to have the heart rate go down. We would want it to go up. Except for that if it goes up too much and the blood pressure goes up too much, then what's going to happen is the heart's going to try to fend for itself, and it's going to slow it down completely. So let's just really quickly talk about when can we not use these drugs. So obviously these drugs are very helpful. But if you use it during cardiac dysrhythmias, then that is not helpful. It's worse. Angina, which is like pain in the chest pain. Hyperthyroidism, which is a metabolic disease where your thyroid makes too many hormones, and the hormones basically are in charge of everything, and that stimulates the sympathetic nervous system already. So if you're adding to it, then you might have a problem. You might have like very increased blood pressure that, you know, can lead to cerebral hemorrhage, which is bleeding in the brain, stuff like that. Hypertension, obviously you're not going to use it when someone has hypertension, because if you already have high blood pressure and you're using this medication, that means you're going to be, you know, what do you call it? You're going to be like increasing their blood pressure even more when it's already high. And that's just not, like, why would you do that, right? And then lastly, just don't use it on a single area, on an area of like single blood supply. So like the ears, stuff like that. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope it helped. If you have any questions, please get back to me. My email will be in the bottom. Thanks.